Today's video is sponsored by Sonic Foam Ear Tips. Alright guys, so today we're going to talk about a pair of IEMs from OAudio. Now, not too long ago we checked out the Velair from them, and it was a very premium pair of IEMs that offered a lot when it came to accessories, the drivers that they used. They did come in at $600, so they were kind of pricey, but I really felt like you were getting your money's worth. But the pair that we're going to check out today, which is the OAudio Sono, comes in at $400, also has a very interesting mix of drivers that they're using, and still comes in with some pretty premium packaging and accessories. And we're gonna see, kind of what the difference is between these and the Velair, but also kind of see if it's worth the $400 price tag. But before we get into that, we're gonna go ahead and talk about today's sponsor, which is Sonic Foam. If you are a fan of earbuds, which if you watch this channel, you likely are, most earbuds come with silicone ear tips, but a lot of you guys actually prefer foam ear tips. It just gives you a better fit, it's more isolation, it just blocks out a lot more things around you. And Sonic Foam is a company that pretty much has you covered whatever earbuds you have. In fact, on their website, there is a compatibility list that goes through almost every earbud, so you can find the right one that's for the earbud that you have. And it even comes in a nice little hard case, and mine came with a nice handwritten note, which I see is something that they include with every purchase. And I think that's kind of a nice personal touch. So if you're somebody that prefers foam ear tips, I highly recommend Sonic Foam. I will have a link to their site in the description and also to some of their Amazon listings. And again, I'd like to thank Sonic Foam for sponsoring today's video. Let's go ahead and go back to the Velair real quick, because I want to talk about the drivers that those were using. They had one dynamic driver mixed with 4 balanced armature drivers and 4 electrostatic drivers. And it was using a 4-way crossover system, where the Sono, which is the pair that we're going to check out today, is using 8 drivers total. It has 2 coaxial dynamic drivers, a 10mm and a 6mm. It's using 4 full range balanced armature drivers. So balanced armature drivers, that's not just trying to handle the treble, it's trying to cover some more frequencies. And it's also using 2 balanced armature drivers for the highs. So they really are trying to separate the treble, the mids, and the lows, and like everything from each other, and have drivers handle each one. And they're also using a 5-way electronic crossover system in these so that it doesn't just mush these up and throw them all together. And so I think that's a pretty interesting mix of drivers that they're using. And then the packaging that's on this kind of is on par with the Velair. You do get a really nice leather case. You're getting a ton of ear tips. You're getting 4 different types of silicone ear tips, and you're also getting a set of foam ear tips. And each one kind of has its own tuning, just because of the firmness and how wide they are. So it does allow you to kind of EQ the IEMs just by using the different ear tips. Now, I use the TW45. I just felt like that kind of fit my needs the most overall. But the other ones are just like minor tweaks off of that. And then as far as the cable that they've used, it comes with a 4-strand oxygen-free copper cross twisted cable. It is using the 2-pin connection, which at this point is pretty standard. It does have a 3.5mm plug-in so that you can just plug it into anything that has a normal headphone jack. But it also comes with a 2.5mm adapter and a 4.4mm adapter. So you do have different options there out of the box. It is surprising they don't have a 1/4-inch adapter, because for me, anyway, that's more common than any of these other ones. But most of you guys probably already have a 1/4-inch adapter kind of sitting around anyway. Now, the IEMs themselves have a really nice design to them. It's just a black and silver, kind of like shiny silver overall. It does have that resin feel. Everything's smooth, so I found them to be extremely comfortable. Mixing this with the cable that I feel like actually feels like a pretty premium cable, I didn't feel any discomfort. I didn't feel anything kind of like rubbing right around my ears. And it just wasn't a pair that I felt like I needed to adjust often. It didn't feel like heavy. And it just didn't move around easily. So that also is a huge plus. Now, the frequency response on the Sono goes from 10 Hz to 30 kHz, where the Velair was 10 Hz to 40 kHz, so there is a difference there. The impedance level on these is 12.8 ohms, and the sensitivity is 126.5 decibels. And really what that means is this is a pair that I found to be very easy to drive. You can just plug it straight into a phone, plug it straight into a laptop or a tablet that has a headphone jack. You're not gonna have any issue getting volume out of these. I felt like they got plenty loud with like no effort at all, but I still am gonna say you need some sort of amp or DAC to really take advantage of these, to really pull out the lows, the mids, and the highs. Because overall, I think you're getting more of a flatter sound when you're plugging straight into a source, but boosting the low end, boosting the treble, and just, again, pulling out a little bit more, you really need an amp to do that. So that leads us now to the overall sound. And we're gonna start with kind of comparing this to the Volair, because the Volair was something that I felt had a warm overall sound. I didn't feel like it had a lot of brightness in the treble, but I still felt like it was really just natural and smooth sounding. And I feel like the Sono kind of takes it in a different direction. It tightens the bass up a little bit where it doesn't have as much rumble to it. It doesn't have that like subwoofer type feel, but it doesn't mean that it lacks bass. It still has a slight rumble, but it just feels like it's tamed a little bit. The treble on these, I actually enjoyed better than the Volair. I felt like these got brighter. I felt like it just pulled out details a little bit more. And I didn't feel like the bass had that effect to just warm up the overall sound. So these don't sound as natural as the Volair. I feel like they are a little more heightened on the treble. The mids on these sound absolutely fantastic. I mean, I had no issues with like acoustic instruments and hearing male and female vocalists. There's a lot of detail in the vocals it's able to pull out. And again, I think that's that mid-range mixed with the treble that these have. So it also makes this pair not only good for music, it's really good for gaming. In fact, this is an excellent pair for gaming because you're able to hear like subtle footsteps, you can hear dialogue clearly, and it just, again, it's bringing out the things you need to hear, obviously, when you're gaming. And same thing with movies. It's fantastic for that, which makes this just a really good overall pair to use. When it comes to the Soundstage and the sound imaging, I don't feel like these are as open as the Volair. I would say this kind of teeters along making you feel like you're in a medium to large size room, but it's still, again, not a huge, like, noticeable difference between these and the Volair when it comes to this, but it is something it just felt like these were closed in a little bit more. And then being able to tell where sounds are coming from, this pair had no issues with. So my overall opinion is this. If you're somebody that just casually listens to music, you're obviously going to think that $400 for a pair of IEMs is a lot of money. But if you're an audiophile or somebody that's really into audio gear, you've seen IEMs for like thousands of dollars. And I think this pair kind of hits the sweet spot. I think the sound and the accessories and the just overall experience that you're getting, it's a pair that I can wear all day because of the build and the finish on these. It's a pair that I can listen to all day because it's not ear fatiguing. The treble is nice and bright without being harsh. So, you know, again, that allows me to listen to these for a long time. And the bass still has that rumble, you know, so I think that it will please like some bass heads, but it's tightened up to where I think it will also please purists or somebody that doesn't like that over-exaggerated bass. So it does have a natural sound on that standpoint, but the treble is elevated enough where it's just a more detailed IEM than even their Volairs, which is a higher end IEM. It's just a different setup when it comes to the driver. So it's really just gonna come down to personal preference. So I do like what OAudio is doing. I do like that they now are giving you just some more options, and I'm really interested in what they're going to continue to do. I think this is a company that is going to draw some attention. They already did with the Volairs because it had just something unique to it. And we're already in a market where IEMs are crowded. There's so many options. There's incredible budget options. So to kind of hit that like middle ground is hard for companies to do. I was impressed with these. I enjoyed using these, and it's an easy pair to recommend, again, to purists or casual listeners. But guys, that wraps up my video on the OAudio Sono. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for checking out all the other videos. And as always, make sure to stay tuned for more.